Welcome to Interdimensional Gummy Bear Podcast, where we have interesting conversations with interesting people and stumble across unexpected insights and wisdom. Today we have with us Mr. Alex Harrell.
What's up, guys?
Yes,
How are you guys doing?
Good
to see you boys today.
He's a Jiu Jitsu phenom. I've been knowing Alex for over 15 years. When he was just a kid coming up in Alan Belcher's programming and amateur fighting, and really settled into the art of jiu-jitsu and really just become a what I would consider a master. I know there's it's a heavy word, but from my perspective, you're either a master or you're a master in training. You just have the right mindset, which is beautiful. And then obviously Jake Bilbo,
boy howdy,
my co-host,
coming
off of his 3-0 performance at the Slugfest.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
So he got some great reps. We got to watch Jake perform, and he did excellent. We're very proud of him.
Thank you.
You could see it looks like he didn't even get in a fight. So
He had on headgear. It was nice. It was nice.
Yeah. And so Alex is actually also Jake's jiu-jitsu coach, and as well as a lot of others. He's trained me, he's trained my sons. He's just a local figure in this world. And so, man, it's glad to finally have you on, dude.
Dude, I'm glad to be here. It's so cool to be here just chit-chatting with you guys, man.
Chit-chatting with the boy.
Yeah, like, you know, when you invited me, I was like, oh, man, I just get to go BS in a room with Robby and Bilbo for like a little bit. Like, let's go, man. That
How
sounds
fun.
like a good afternoon to me.
Batchy's here too.
Hey
Batchy's
guys,
here too.
I got the camera set up on myself. Hey, check him out. Check him out. Yeah, we're here, boys.
Good looking dude right
Yo,
there.
they
chief
just did that
officer.
in sync. Did you see the check it out? That was
They got chemistry. Always got chemistry.
That's insane.
Always.
Heck yeah.
Oh, also, you're an undefeated pro fighter as well. I know he said amateur,
yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think people forget.
That's right.
And like the other day when you were holding me on the wall, like when you were just holding me on the wall, I was like, I've never seen Alex ever train this. But then like he was just holding me on the wall, like really nonchalant, just using the wall, and I was like, all right, he's an undefeated pro. You forget that sometimes. Then he just held me in mount and slapped me around a bit, and I'm like, man, I never see him do this with anybody. But I had the gloves on, so he was just pop, pop, pop. I was like, undefeated pro.
Tell me,
Like trying to get him off me.
Alex, tell us your origins. Yeah.
Man, okay, so I first started training martial arts in 1997 when I was like 4 years old. I did Taekwondo from the time I was like 4 to 17, basically. And then at some point, basically, I was learning Jiu Jitsu in a karate school. And somewhere along that time, I just saw MMA, and I was like, whoa, you can do martial arts and make a living out of it? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Because my mom's like, bro, you got to go to school for, like, architecture, like being a lawyer or a doctor. And I was like, I don't know. I saw that, and I was like, nah. And, jumped into Allen's from there when I was 17. Had my first amateur fight at 17, fought amateur and pro 17 to 19, trained jiu-jitsu. Now I'm just coaching, and I still kind of just compete jiu-jitsu. Here I am. So I've just been a martial artist my whole life.
Right.
I love it.
Lucky boys.
When did you make the pivot to where, because I feel like you've really committed yourself to coaching as of late, and seems like the last couple of years. When did that click for you?
So Mikey made me read. He told me to read this book, How We Learned to Move by Rob Gray.
Yeah.
And so I read that, and then the problem was I was too dumb to understand the science inside of it. Like I just couldn't figure it out, right? And so I just kind of sat on it for a little while, and then you remember when you helped me with my sprained MCL? Okay, it was around then.
We talked about the book too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it was around the time I sprained my MCL, and I found this guy called Greg Souders, who explained basically all the stuff from Rob Gray, but in jiu-jitsu terms. So like I could get it, right? And so I went back and I read the book again, and then I was like, oh, like, you know, this makes more sense now that I can understand it through the lens of something I kind of already understand. And so that's really where I started getting that, and I started having a lot more fun watching the classes, and I felt like people were getting it better. Because like I was watching them just drill normal, and I was like, I can't watch you guys do this for 30 minutes. And then I was entertained and people were getting better. And I was like, oh, man. And then so I kind of figured it out there.
Yeah.
Right. And then just started really trying to go even harder into it. Right. Since then.
Yeah. Yeah. I was telling Bilbo, because your name's come up quite a few times. Yeah. In the terms gamification and ecological approach, and a lot of things that really are rooted in neuroscience. But what's funny is, from an outsider looking in, they can kind of almost be dismissive over some of it because it is playful or it is gamified. And, but what it kind of, when talk a little bit about the ecological approach and the gamification aspect.
Okay, so the ecological approach is really just a branch of psychology, and I'm probably going to butcher this because I'm still working on understanding this, but it's an idea of direct perception that was basically made by a guy called J.J. Gibson, and basically it's like for a long time, like you really the world looked at man as like a machine, right? And this line of thinking basically led to like two different thoughts, and it was like we have the real world and then we have like our perceived world in our minds, and then the idea of the ecological, like JJ's idea of direct perception was that like I can just pick stuff up in my environment. It's not a separate thing. Like the you know what I mean, and like how I feel about the things or what I need matters. And so how that works in jiu-jitsu is I just base it around things that never change, and I try to make games around that. So like, okay, like if I'm trying to get somebody good at a single leg, right? Like grabbing one leg, tackling somebody by a leg. I'm like, all right, our first game is just gonna be working getting hands and heads out of the way, and I'm gonna grab the leg. You just have to make a grip behind the leg. Next might be you have to have a circle. Then I'll start you in the circle, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna down. So it's like what actually has to happen, not like the details where I'm like, oh, like your elbow's got to be bent like 90 degrees this way, because like your body doesn't have like a real metric to like use that. You could probably have a better understanding of that than me, but like I can't be I can be about 90 degrees, but like so I just make them off of that. I think the scientific term is in variables, but that's what I base it off of.
And
things
it's
that
hard,
happen.
and it's hard to nail that every time. Like you're never gonna get that perfect 90 degree on somebody who's actively trying.
That's what I'm saying, exactly. Like perfect technique isn't like a real thing, I think.
And it's also something that has to be perceived.
Yeah.
And that means that when I say perceived, that's the cool part about that book that we all kind of had in common that might put us on how to move and how we learn to move. And it really comes down to internalized sensory experiences. I don't know if that's the exact context they put it, but that's the way I've interpreted it. And it really comes down to you have to feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and until you internalize those sensations and that sensory information, then it's not yours. It's still in your intellect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not,
100%.
It doesn't belong to your intuition or your subconscious, let's say. So that's where I love is just the way the evolution and of all of us and how it's all really been geared towards a really more science-based approach. But it's kind of the idea of we came up in a culture and world where a lot of these things that we've learned were formatted like Newtonian physics.
Yeah.
Like it's all like we're machines and there's like parts and pieces and gears and pulleys or whatever.
The fuck is Newtonian physics?
So Isaac Newton.
Gravity.
Yeah, the founder of gravity, right? So it's all your basic physics principles,
physics.
like regarding gravity and inertia and all these like things that we deal with. And it's all very true, but it's not complete because like what we know about quantum physics now, and you look at particle physics and you start looking down at smaller and smaller levels, and you start seeing how that relates to our place in the universe. And even the way our bodies function, it's more in line, and it's very complex, and it's very dynamic, and it's very it's not as concrete as that allows us to interpret it. You know,
we're organisms, not machines.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like one of the things that like I was talking about, like I can even see it. It's so funny. Like I'll see it and like the way it was talking about it, I'll see like jiu-jitsu guys break it down into like, they're like, oh, this is like our system. And it's like, that's a computer term. That's
right.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's limited too.
You're not a computer. Like you're a living being interacting with like your environment and stuff like
That's
that.
right.
So like, I don't know.
That means that you have a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we're not computers and we don't have these fixed parameters. There's a lot of room around the edges and the dusty corners.
You have to be able to adapt in the middle, right?
Exactly.
There,
And also like be able to adapt your build and stuff. Like there's just like I can't tell you like a dude with short arms and legs to move like me. Like I have a wingspan of someone who's like 6 foot. Like I like you're just not gonna move like me, and that's totally fine. You have to move like you, and I think it leaves some freedom for it. And so, man, it's really cool. And then I get to watch people teach themselves, and that's like to me that's really cool. Like I get to like I don't have to tell you how to do something. I can just put you there. And you can figure it out, and it lets you.
That's much better, I think, dude.
I think so too, because you really believe in it, because you did the thing.
Yeah, you can sit around and do an arm bar for years.
Yeah, sing it with
years, and as soon as somebody does this,
you're
like, oh wait,
well, I've never done this before.
How do I get this leg off? Yeah.
So why is what you do novel to the culture of jiu-jitsu? And why is it not more common amongst other coaches?
So one, I think there's a lot, like a big attitude of like, we've always done it this way. And then two, okay, so I started reading this book called Affective Gibsonian Psychology. And basically all the studies I see in it are like within my lifetime. Because I think J.J. Gibson died in like 1978, 1979. So like he did, I think the information is very new. So people.
79.
Yeah, and so, yeah, like my.
79.
Yo, let's go.
Pull that up, baby. Pull that up, Jamie.
I know my stuff,
Goes
boy.
so hard. That's incredible. That's incredible.
But yeah, so like that's my point. Like the real founder of it, and his wife also worked on a bunch of stuff. She worked on like how children develop, and that's pretty cool. I just started reading that in the book.
Nice.
And I'm really interested in that because I
Me
work
too.
with children.
Developmental is huge.
Yeah, but so I'm just barely starting to read about that. I don't really know too much, but
The way I look at it is that's the way it's laid down. It's the way it's essentially your foundation.
100%.
It's all in development.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think but anyway, so it's new science. So I don't think like people will be like, oh, like I know what this is or we do this. It's like, do you really? Do you like, cause like this science, like some of the studies are from like 2012. That's like in the last like 11 years. And most of the coaches I know haven't picked up a book. You know what I mean? Like jujitsu wise, right? Like it's like I just teach what my coach taught me, or like, it's not like, I got like very lucky and I have like a pretty, open-minded, or I guess liberal. I don't know what the term would be, but it wasn't like, oh, you have to do just this drill or do it like this. I got lucky with like a coach who's like, man, like
It kind of took the leash off.
Yeah, exactly.
Or never really had one.
Well, and I learned like that. Like I was homeschooled, so like my mom let me learn on my own. But anyway, so like that's part of the reason, I think. And then, I think that's the main reason. Like it's a new body of work relative to like all the other science. And then also like just habits, like, we've always done it this way, so we're going to continue to do it this way. And it's, so like, I don't know. Like, so I think that's a big part of it, if I'm being honest. That's pretty much it. It's new. Yeah, exactly. It's new. And people just don't, like, it's new. People don't know how to do it really yet. And,
Probably don't know how to trust it just yet.
Yeah.
And like he's still coming up with new games. So that's the
All
cool
the time.
part about it. All the time you're doing your studies. I know in your morning you're on the philosophy. You probably get some coffee and then you're on to watching jiu-jitsu videos or breakdown videos, seeing how this thing works.
Yeah.
But which is
watch
just,
a little film in the morning.
Part of one of my theories is that as a coach, being a coach and teacher, like you're kind of just built, like that's what you're here for, right? It's like I didn't really feel like I had another path.
Oh, for sure.
And part of it is when you're doing well teaching, especially in that format, you're actually using very simple terms and words, and you're actually being very calculated on saying less. 100%. And I think as a coach and what we've learned from, and a lot of models you can see out there, it's having to really put their ego aside as a coach and almost, or even for me from a professional standpoint, like I know a lot of fancy words. He always picks on me about it.
So I
But-
don't know any of them.
But also is that if I'm working with him and if he doesn't have those words, then it's not helping him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And so I think some of it comes from that we're too concerned with how we look doing something, and then we trust our intellect way more, and we don't appreciate and respect our intuition, and that in how I'm empowering you means I'm giving you the tools
Yeah.
versus you needing my tools.
100%.
You see?
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
And then also I'm kind of potentially glorifying myself by using fancy words and then teaching you this proprietary system,
Yeah.
right? It's really open source,
Yeah.
right?
He does good by bringing the words or the vernacular from his kids' classes.
Mm-hmm.
Like
telling you.
there was one idea.
That's where I'm
what's
getting.
called like the bulldozer pass or something of that
Yeah.
nature, or the circle game that you were talking about. Just
yeah, the
making a
the
circle,
circle game.
just making a circle around your opponent. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, I teach the kids by just making a circle.
That's right.
All you really have to do is connect your hands,
That's
right?
right.
But connect your hands around them.
Yeah.
Well, because then you don't have to learn to speak a different language. Like that's the thing that like I really think is like a big problem with jujitsu is like, okay, they'll be like, oh, like I did this thing to this other thing to this thing, or then like some of the words are in Japanese for some reason, even though
Like the leg lock systems are the craziest.
like ashigarami,
Yeah.
ashigarami, like that's like literally Japanese for leg entanglement. That one I'm more okay with than others. But
You
like,
just say ashi though.
Yeah.
But it's just another word for it. I feel.
right.
and yeah, so it's just like it's real complicated. It's not human language either. Like it's very like, you know what I mean? It's again, it's like something you have to be. It's not like human language. Like push them,
You have to
pull
be-
them,
Yeah.
roll over, get up,
Yeah.
stand
Reach.
up, reach.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Post.
Yeah, post. Yeah.
Yeah, I say frame the people that don't do jujitsu, and I'm like,
Yeah, they look at you like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
I gotta build a damn frame real quick.
Yeah.
Put it between us. Yeah. I don't. I mean, I just. All right, throw your elbow in there, see what happens.
Yeah.
You know?
And especially with the kids, I've just noticed
Right.
it's I don't know, man. It's something that's brought me a lot of like. It made me really like coaching, and like I have, I'm sure I've read more books than some coaches. There's a lot of coaches I've read way less books too. I also would like to put that out, but like I'm trying to get better at it because I don't know. It made me really enjoy the process of like coaching and stuff. Man, it's been really cool with the kids, with the adults. I really like it.
Do you feel like part of it is because you're receiving more versus you giving your gifts to the world? Like you're actually learning your learners and you're spending way more time trying to understand them versus trying to force feed your philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah. Cause like, dude, I feel like a lot of instructors and stuff will be like, oh, like they'll talk for like 5 minutes. And it's like, I don't think talking is like an actual good teaching intervention.
When you're teaching movement.
Yeah, exactly. Like you gotta do. Like you were talking about this. Like you gotta get the feel of like holding something or doing something, or And so like, my personality is very do oriented. Like I like to talk like in like BS with you guys, but like, you guys know I'm about my work. like I'll show up and like I'm a work. Yeah, exactly. And so I like that it's a philosophy of like teaching that's basically like, hey, the most valuable thing they can do is do the thing.
Yeah.
So I want to I try to explain everything in 90 seconds. Like I literally try my hardest because I believe like if I actually care about my students, I'm gonna let them do.
Yeah.
The reps in
Yeah.
heavy. Get
And this
the
is not
reps
to
in.
say that I've met several coaches who taught for long times that are also wonderful world class coaches. So I also want to put that out there.
Yeah.
But like just for me personally, like I'm not.
Well, to me, it's
know?
when you talk.
Yeah.
So it's like if I use the simple terms to say, okay, let's do a circle, let's connect our
Yeah.
hands, and now go. Well, and also conditioning your students to be like cool with that and not be like, well, hold on, like I need more information.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Let's just do a circle, connect your hands.
Yeah.
And then now, once you kind of see them actually falling into the thing, you're letting them fall into it with reps and movement perpetually. And then eventually you could speak on the things that now they are already
Yeah.
drawing a context for.
They
Yeah,
have the context for it. Exactly. They know what it's like to hold on to the person.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
He does that very well in between games. So like when the game is over, he goes, okay, we just did this.
And now
we're
you're
doing this.
drawing context
Yes.
and you're allowing the intellect to come into play after they understand it from
Yes.
a more intuitive
doing it.
standpoint.
Because you can't understand how to hold on to a leg if you've never held on to a leg before. Like, you got to get, like, literally for the little kids, like, I'll be like, hey, you're just going to hold on to that single leg as long as you can without falling over, little buddy. And they'll be like, okay. And then they'll hold on to that thing and they'll
life.
get takedowns. Like, I didn't even have to tell them to take them down. They just got takedowns by holding on to that leg super tight. It's so cool.
Yeah. that's perfect.
It's so
though.
cool.
Yeah.
That's perfect though.
But
Also at the end of all the games, right before we roll, he does good like, the synopsis of it all. Like,
Yeah.
here's what we learned today.
that's right.
And I like that. too.
Reflection,
Yeah,
now.
yeah, the reflection part of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And I believe in reflection as well. And
100%.
sometimes I always say the last 15 minutes after the workout can sometimes be 10 times more useful to a person than what we actually did.
Yeah.
And that's a cool part of it too, is we are mind, body, spirit, and how we feel is going to influence what we bring to the table, also what we're learning from the situation. And I think part of the journey is just like you're giving people also like some space to be human and not to have to be because the feedback mechanism between teacher and student, a lot of times it's based off of instant. Did I do good?
Yeah.
Did I do it? Did I do it? And we're trying to nail everything so perfectly, we're actually stuck.
Yeah.
And so I love the idea of just finding a way to keep things moving, keep it productive, keep it to where everybody gets something useful from it. And that's usually what's best for both people.
100%.
And it shows us as humans how, for instance, if we're sparring and let's just say you're lighting me up or something, and yeah, it might appear to be productive for you. But if we're not having a back and forth and it's not a 50-50 exchange, it's actually less useful for you.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not very useful for me if I was just getting tattooed and not having a lot of
There's got to be a give and take. There's like a
Exactly.
dance to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say what you do afterwards, just around Rosie when it comes to the questions. That's a big thing for everybody because I mean a lot of times people are just afraid or forget that they even have a question. You know what I'm saying? And I know this was kind of a pivot.
No,
but
that's
I wanted
good.
to make a point on that on the last thing you said. I like the question aspect of it. And the other day I was sparring somebody getting ready for the slugfest, and his name was Remy, and I think he's one of Turn's homies.
He's a dog.
I think it's Turn Hopkins. I think.
Okay.
I forget. Anywho, yeah, but Remy was kind of lighting me up. Like every time I'd come in, he'd pop me. And then Turn looks at him and goes, Remy, wow, how are you hitting him? And then Remy gets in there and he thinks about it. And he's like, oh, he's just coming in on the second beat. Like he'd come out, and then every time on the second beat, he'd come in, and I'd hit him then. And I was like, oh, that's why I'm getting tattooed. And then that little dude, he's younger than me. Younger than me, I know he is. A bit bigger than me. But he's younger than me. And then the coach asked him to elaborate on how he was hitting me, and he knew it. And I was like, no, I was doing that.
Yeah.
I was doing that. Helped me in turn. So I think the questionnaire at the end with the reflection, I think that's a big thing too.
Big one.
The last 15 minutes, yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Better than the rest of that, or more important than the rest of the hour almost, is that last 15
Because it gives
or
you
so.
something personal that you might need help with. That's like something I picked up from. I have these friends over in Gulf Shores, like 10th Planet Gulf Shores, Josh Yelverton, Pat Scherf. But like they always do a Q&A at the end every time. Like I come and visit them, which is so freaking sweet. Their head coach, like when they do their team training, does that. Like it'll be a room of like 40, 50 people. It's like question. Like he'll point at you the exact. Like that's literally who I got it from. Like I won't apologize for it at all.
killer.
You're the goat, bro.
Yeah, that's
but
killer.
like
No, that's killer.
Like you know what I mean. But like I was like, oh, I have to steal that.
You don't see it a lot. You don't see it a lot.
great idea.
I've gone to several open mats or just other classes in general, and no one's really like, all right, anybody have any questions? Silent time. It's silent time. But if you point, what did you get wrong today, or what do you think you got wrong today?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's real cool.
But also it says a lot about the safety. Like for instance, if you have a kid, right, and you're raising that kid and he's scared to approach you about a question because maybe when last time he asked you a question, you kind of made him feel stupid or you kind of maybe whatever the case is. And so you have to create an environment, and that's a part of what a good coach does. Is they're cultivating modalities that are, it's an environment. You're setting an environment and a stage for people to have an experience.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the more productive that experience is, the better this session goes. You know, and if we can accumulate productive sessions, even if if we're not comparing it to like some benchmarks, but it's the person's they're able to give their best each day and not really waste a lot of energy on a lot of bull crap. And then have ability to like maybe pick up one or two very useful things, and actually now they follow me till tomorrow. Versus, you know, you can maybe feel like you're getting a real productive session in the wrong environment, and I got good work. I feel the dope, you know, the endorphin, so it feels good. But ultimately, you didn't learn things that you're actually using the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, your game doesn't evolve, to say the least.
There's a lot of meat-eating gyms that do that.
Yeah.
Really, just guys that go in there, spar hard all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I feel good. I did good today.
That's another thing that's changed.
Yeah, that's not
Like
not
people
very
don't
heavy.
spar like that anymore,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah,
think is
thank
great.
God.
Because like
Yeah,
I
me too.
remember, bro. Did I ever tell you what they used to make us do?
Dude, he watched it at its worst when we were. I'm talking Saturdays. It looked like war,
Dude,
and there was
I
blood
remember- I
everywhere. It
remember
was,
Chase
some of
Sherman Superman punched me one time. First off, I know he didn't Superman punch me as hard as he could because I would have died. But like,
Yeah.
I remember flying back and hitting the cage and being like, "What happened?" But this is not the
What
issue,
happened?
right? They would. We'd have 3 10-minute rounds with a fresh person every minute. Chase Sherman was my last minute of my last round. Yoda's like, Chase, go on in there. And then so he hit me like that. And I was like, what do? I'm going to shoot like I'm going to take Chase down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just hold on to the leg.
Bro, no. I just hit a brick wall and I was like, oh, my neck, and I fell over. Like,
Oh, my neck.
but like, dude, stuff like that. That I was like, why
You're
are
not
we
getting
doing
chased
this?
down.
I'd pass out in the back room for like 2 hours because I needed a nap. Like,
The other day we were kind of doing the same thing, dude. And I forget. I've never sparred with Chase. But we were using him a lot for the boxing because he's got great boxing. But dude, I forget. I hardly ever spar heavyweights just in general, especially the big.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm just gonna block some of his shots and I'm gonna get on the inside.
Those still hurt
And I was
too?
like, oh wait, no. Not only do they still hurt, but they move you.
Yeah.
They move you like really far. So I was like, man, he is sticking me much more than anybody else. Like just much more.
Yeah.
And I was really thinking like, oh, I'm falling.
Yeah.
I'm falling 90% of the time, and that doesn't make any sense to me. I was blocking it. I'm going boom. Yeah, I keep looking at myself.
That's good.
But I was falling, and he was smoking me.
Bro, that tells you what a spectacular athlete Alan is, by the way, because I've sparred and worked with him. I mean, like since I was 17, bro. Like he was one of my coaches. Never been hurt, ever. Not
Me
once.
either.
Not once. And that's why, like, okay, like, and that's not to say that like Chase isn't
Chase
great.
is
It's just
not
like I just
hurting
think
me.
that's
Yeah.
Alan's like that's like his superpower.
Yeah.
Like that's like his like. You know what I mean? Like you play whatever video game, like that's just like what the special perk your class
Yeah.
gets. That's his.
That's
like
L2,
he's just,
R2.
yeah, exactly. He's just like
Dude, and I
Yeah.
think I've been
Real
so
delicate
lucky,
with it.
and I'm so grateful because it's like I've gotten to spend years, and most of the training I do is with a black belt that's also like a sick Muay Thai fighter, boxer. Like he's got such a well-rounded skill set,
True.
and like that's the guy I'm with every day, and that's the person that I'm really learning from. So I feel like I've been able to get lucky enough to where my skills have been able to improve at a faster rate because I'm really just training with a world-class guy and then his training partners that are pretty much world-class guys.
yeah.
I mean, he does camps with John Jones, and you got to imagine that not just
Gordon Ryan was there at that camp.
dude. He left right before I got there.
And Phil Nurse, he also
Phil
he
Nurse.
also invited.
Phil
Bro,
Nurse.
Phil
Yeah.
missed that dude. He was a
And
killer. Just a
Yeah,
killer.
and so it's like I feel so lucky to get to learn from some of these people. Phil Nurse is a red belt. He's one of 3, I think, in the entire world
Of what, like Muay Thai?
in Muay Thai. He's
There's a belt.
a red belt is
Well, the
above.
band, right?
Oh, the-
Bands.
oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
do
see.
bands, right? I'm not crazy.
They do,
right?
but that's usually
It's
for
basically like
gyms.
a grandmaster,
Okay.
I guess.
Gyms.
Yeah, there's the
They do like
red.
the crew thing. It's the crew
It's a crew.
thing,
That's
right?
just a
Yeah.
coach. That's just a coach.
Oh, is that just the coach? Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Well, is that Phil Crew Nurse?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean.
But he is like that's just a small example because you run across so many of these guys. Just think about the coaches, Greg Jackson and them in John's Corner, and just getting to kind of absorb some of those guys and be around that.
Yeah.
And then, but as far as injuries go, like I've been very lucky because the only time I've been injured training and fighting was whenever I was in classes with white and blue belts and doing, and it was like just like a thumb or
Those are more
you know,
They're not smooth yet.
Those are more
it's
dangerous.
just because there's
Still,
explosiveness and a lot of just panic.
I'll tell those day one guys try not to use any strength today, and oh god, does that confuse them?
Yeah.
They have no idea
man.
what that was
You
like.
can't
Try not
do
to
that.
use any strength today.
You know what I literally do? My favorite thing to do to new people is I'll just lay on my back. I'll just
Starfish 'em.
Well, because like this is the problem. They don't know what battles are important yet.
Yeah.
So I just let you win all of them. Because if you're new and you have no experience, you're not gonna accidentally armbar me. Like I'm sorry. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's
like,
a crush.
yeah. But like my
You
point
just
being is
said
like
that.
I like you know what I mean? Like that
was
happens
so
and like
funny.
that's when I've been hurt too. And man, I was just really lucky to walk into Allen's like when I was 17, man. Like the amount of UFC fighters I've like met and got to like roll with and
No
stuff.
doubt.
Like bro, I met like Douglas Lima before he was Douglas Lima, like way
Nice.
back in the day, and his brother, I think. Like, and it's just because I just constantly. I was talking to y'all's strength and conditioning coach, and I'm so blanking on it, and I feel rude.
Quan?
The goat. But I was talking to like, man, like like I got really lucky, like walking in there and just being like, like I get exposed to like all these great people and stuff like that. Just like, like one calendar year, I met what's his face.
I do this all the time.
Like, dude, Jorge Masvidal came in.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
just randomly, like he just came in. He was just like in my class one day, and I was like,
Cool.
yeah, right.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Right.
Do you want to teach or?
That's a cool.
you wanna
that, dude,
teach, or
okay,
what
that's
do we
where
do
I was
here?
like, I had never met the guy, but like,
He was in class.
I will stand him till the. I mean, look at my hair. I'm clearly trying to be like him.
Yeah.
I will stand him till the day I die because like. Dude, he just came in. He did my class like a regular person, like rolled with everybody, and I'm like,
I worked with him.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like like it's like, bro, like yeah, you,
Not a
you
lot of
like, are
people
you
do
want to
that.
teach class,
Yeah,
bro?
not a lot of
Exactly.
people
And
do that.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. And so like
real-
he
real
came
humble.
in, he drilled a Tyler. Like it was so
Yeah.
cool. It was so cool.
Which is wild. Poor
Um,
Tyler.
But yeah, just a random day. Yeah, like
Yeah, real cool. A Wednesday type shit.
yeah.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's a big blessing. And to go back to the coaching, the best coaches and influencers, they're able to lead in a way where they kind of come in, have their impact, and then they can almost leave quietly and leave the people assuming that they solve their own problems in a sense. And so that's the whole point. It's such a anti-ego approach.
Yeah.
Like the best influencers and leaders are really the ones that kind of quietly have their influence and then they're not looking for the credit, let's say. And the more I feel like you take that approach, the more effective you can be.
Oh, 100%.
And I think the better, and to me, as far as like, I think of everything from a spiritual level. I think that's how you sow seeds spiritually. I think that's really what, if you look at even a lot of, all ancient texts, if you look at all the wisdom that comes from whichever source it comes from, it always kind of leads you to these same conclusions, and to the extent that it's not about the glorified person, it's about the fact that you're almost already sacrificing for the collective, and you're focused on helping others equally, and
Oh, for sure.
and that's where I feel like we get the most fulfillment in life. And that's why it feels good to do that, because we're built for that.
Oh yeah. Oh no, for sure. Like, and I got lucky enough that I had like a lot of like good men in my life who were like, if I'm being honest, like my father's.
You say your dad's an amazing guy.
My dad's the best guy that there ever is. I love you, Dad. No, but for real, like my dad is. I mean, he treats my mom well. He has like 4 kids that like we all love my dad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then like, man, and then like my karate coach when I was a kid was a good dude, man. Like when I was a teenager, Alan.
That's not talked about enough.
Yeah, man, I got lucky with that,
stages, yeah.
and
The foundation was good.
yeah, man, and
What we were
so,
talking about
but
earlier.
they were all like that, like, you know what I mean? They were all like
Humble.
also talking about like they like my father was a very humble man that worked very hard, like, and I think that's where I get like a lot of my consistency and my work ethic from is by like just watching my dad get up like at 6 a.m. and come home at 8:00 at night. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, doing the thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, my
you know.
parents didn't do that.
but yeah, so I had like a lot of like I had a good foundation for that, and it was really really nice, and it makes like now that like I'm in a position where I don't want to where I help people, I guess, because like I don't want to say I lead, because like I don't really view my coaching as like a point of leadership. I really try to look at it as like through a role of servitude.
Sure.
Because like you know what I mean, and if you happen,
That may be the best form of leadership there is.
I, like, and that's what that's kind of what I want to be, right? Like I want to be like
I wish cops thought like that.
I don't think of myself.
Truly.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I don't think of myself as like a general. I think of myself as like a captain. Like I'm kind of in the dirt with you, and that's kind of like my form of leadership. I don't know if it's right. I just think it's the right one
great.
for me.
No, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see that too.
bro,
I could
you
see
killed
that
me
too.
with that one cop comment. I don't even know what we were talking about before, dude. I was so dead, dude.
Sorry.
But
So when did y'all
I
run
mean,
into each other?
bro, when did I meet you?
Shit, had to just be in class, right? I don't think we met outside.
No, definitely not. Like I had to have met you through. I can't even remember when I met you. That's crazy.
Nuh-uh.
That's
Nuh-uh.
crazy.
I
I
was
can't
just
remember.
There
I
wasn't
met
like
I was
this
just a
glorious
white belt.
moment where y'all like saw each other and just
You started training probably like a little bit more around the time Aiden and all of them started fighting.
Yes.
And so you probably came around that time.
I was still a white belt when I got into my first MMA.
Yeah.
So
What are you now?
It was just I'm a blue belt. I got my blue belt after the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah, after my second MMA fight, which was a long time after. Dude, yeah, I probably trained for a year in between those times.
So how long does it take to go from like white belt, blue belt up to
Definitely
chain?
depends on the person. I think.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the individual and like how often.
What was
you
your
train.
progression like?
I went white to blue in like 8 months, but I also, like I said, I had done karate, like grappling in a karate school, and because I was a little weirdo, I was like looking up how to do triangles on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's entirely because I didn't start from base 0, like you know what I mean. But like 8 months, and then like blue belt was like 4 years, purple was another 4, brown was 2, and I think I've been a black belt for
Right.
Yeah.
a little over 3, because I got my first stripe.
Yeah,
Well, I remember when you were a brown belt, is like by that point you were pretty much in there like every day.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Like it was like no longer, there was no breaks. It didn't seem like you're just like
There's a
glued to
bed.
the gym or
At the gym now that he stays in. He's got a hammock in the attic too.
yeah.
You know, good.
So that would make
dude's
sense. Like
living
last
there.
5 years probably.
Yeah, something like that. I've really dialed into like coaching, and then like really like actually working at the gym and really running adults, because like really I taught kids.
You
for the
started
longest
with
time.
kids,
Yeah, dude.
and you were highly effective with kids, but it feels like that's what, to me, as it almost is what makes you so good now working with the adults.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's way harder to work with
They're
them
big-
kids.
they're
man.
big
They're
babies.
wonderful, but
The
yeah.
kids.
Adults are
Yeah.
big babies.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're big kids.
And I
We're big kids that don't understand why we
Yeah.
why we can't do this right. You know what I'm saying? The
Would you
kids
say
are
that-
like, oh, I'm new.
The kids have less in the way in terms of like neurologic compensations and just life.
yeah. Well, also like they don't
got
like
work
depending on
schedule.
the age you get them at, and like you know how their parents are. Like some of them like they don't have like all the voices in their head that tell them that they can't do shit. Like that's, like,
Preconceived
gone. Yeah,
notions.
like the stuff that I know we all probably have as adults, where we hear like some, I don't know, some old person from when we were 10 be like, nah, you can't do that or,
Right.
or whatever. But yeah, I started with the kids, man, and I've worked with kids since I was like 14, and like teaching martial arts, even longer, helping with like churches, stuff like that.
Really nice.
Does it piss you off that some of the parents can't tell the difference between you and the kids?
Not pisses me off that most of them are taller than me at this
Right.
point. Like I just had some kids. They like one of them. His name's Knight. He just turned like he's about to drive. Bilbo knows what I'm talking about. But like yeah, he's like taller than me. He started
Yeah.
like shorter than me, and now he's like yeah, man.
He just hit that growth spurt.
But that's still
only.
my favorite all these years.
Right.
It's the kids, bro. Like I love teaching the adults, but kids are like.
Do you still have the knack to compete? Is it something that you have a desire or ambition towards still?
Yeah, like it's not. I started competing in jiu-jitsu because I feel like what part of it was, one, the pay in MMA at the time, like when I was fighting, it was not very good. And then two, like dude, I feel like when I had to fight MMA, I had to be selfish with my time.
Right.
And but like jiu-jitsu, like I can lose and everything's okay, right? For the most part, but like MMA, even if I lose or I win, the consequences can still be very, very bad. It can still be concussions. And so this lets me be less selfish with my time and coach. I've been competing less and less, but that's more like not so much a desire to not compete as like I have like other personal things like I have to like deal with, like, and having to deal with the past like 6 to 8 months. But like I want to, but it's never like I like it. Because I think of it as like, I don't really care if I win or lose. I just view it as this thing that makes me get stronger and better. And I think that's really what I care about. I mean, winning feels freaking fantastic. It's like, I mean, yeah, like right in the veins, but like, but like,
it really is, right?
No, it is for sure. But like, I enjoy the process. Like, I like training. Like, I like, you know what I mean? And I also like that it makes it puts things in perspective, because like a lot less things suck. Like there's not a lot of things that suck more than having to fight someone to some capacity in public. Like, you know what I mean? Whether it's MMA, it's jiu-jitsu, like I haven't encountered a lot of things that are harder than that. Maybe also I'm just lucky enough to have had pretty life, but I've never had to be living like in a third world country or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know?
We got lucky with that part, but I mean, I'm gonna have to agree, bro. It is hard to get in there. Even if you win, you can still get broken in some way, some sort. Usually something's hurt. Like I mean, I lost last time, foot was broke.
Yeah, I remember when you broke your foot. Yeah, that's right.
You don't even know. You don't even know while you're in there.
No, you don't feel nothing.
Yeah, you don't feel that while you're in there. You feel it afterwards. And if I would have won, I'd still be pissed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still just broke my foot.
There were still consequences.
Right? Yeah, I still just broke my foot.
Yeah. So yes, but it's not like I've never been a competitive guy. Like that's the other thing. Like I'm not like I feel when I win, I actually feel more like I feel more relief that I didn't lose than care that I won. It's like I just don't want to feel like that's like my competitive nature, but like my truest nature is like I'm a very like when we play video games, I don't want to fight other people. I want us to be on a team and go play aliens like in Halo. Yes. Like that's what I prefer. Or like when we play Smash Brothers, like I like to be on a team versus the computers or our team versus another team. I'm just a very cooperative. Like I like to be a part of a team.
You ever fight all Wii Fit trainers on level 9, bro? You can't win.
Bro, the Wii Fit trainers were the worst, bro.
Crazy.
They were so hard. That guy at the end, bro. You know who I'm talking about? I can't remember the trainer's name.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I like the boxing game.
Bro,
the boxing game was
good
stupid
back
hard.
in the day, bro.
It was stupid hard. I was working Mike Tyson head movements on the Wii. Something stupid, bro.
So what video game are you playing now?
Ooh, oh man, I don't want to say this out loud.
You got
this
to.
Is so lame.
I love
Okay,
this.
I just finished playing Earthbound. We were talking about this earlier, which is, for those of you that don't know, that's the game that Ness comes from, and it's phenomenal. You should go play it. But I needed a game that I feel like I could just like put down and like just like it, like I could play it for 20 minutes a day and get somewhere. And so I've been playing Animal Crossing for like the for the past few days. But before that, I was playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom, like the newest Legend of Zelda. This is a little embarrassing. I've probably put like 300 hours into this in a couple of years. I love, but I like.
When
there's
I'm not
very
reading,
few.
I'm
See, this is
Zelda.
my problem. You see, like I'll get real obsessive about topics like Jiu Jitsu or like Zelda, and it's bad. But that's what I've been
Do
playing.
you read books on how to beat Zelda?
No.
Well, there we go. We haven't gotten too crazy. So what is this thing? And it's like it's kind of hilarious. But when guys get really proficient at jiu-jitsu, they really let their nerd flag hang out. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they really just almost like I'm like, are y'all baiting people to mess with you so you can have a chance to maybe do something? Because it's like the more dangerous.
You can't get bullied anymore.
I swear, it's like the
"This is
more
me."
dangerous. Because I'll tell people this all the time when you're in the room and there's like some like big guys or guys that are, you know, just kind of getting into the game or whatever. I'm like, you know, he could kill everybody in here, right? And they're like, what? Because he's wearing like the Vans with the high socks and the
Fanny
zip
pack.
up
Oh,
fanny
yeah.
pack, and and even now in the UFC,
Finboy.
they have that nerd. They have the nerd.
Nerd glasses, dudes.
Well, yeah, those guys.
Oh, the MMA, the fight nerds
And
guys.
it's like
Yeah.
they all look like just complete savages. They all look so scary,
They're so good.
yeah, they're so good. But is that a thing where people, or is it just like they're being their true selves, and
Yeah.
that now that they're like screw it, like I go,
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, man. Because I'll tell you what, that's like one of the real freedoms I think martial arts provided me is like I can just be me, and you can't bully me out of it.
Right.
Like you can't.
Not,
So,
that,
like,
not that you can't.
you know what I
Not
mean?
that
You
you
could
want to.
try.
You're
I'm not
gonna
looking
beat 'em
for
up.
not that
you know
I'm
what
not
saying?
looking for this, but
Yeah.
but I always had that feeling growing up that it was like, you know what I mean? Like someone would say something and it would go a little too far. I'm like, hey man, knock it off right now, or like,
Right.
we're gonna have a problem.
Well, what
And,
are
like,
you gonna
but I-
do?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you're like you about like exactly, and it's like
Yeah.
I was always able to be like, all right, you fixing to find out, bro. Like you know what I mean? And so
Right.
like. I've always been able to experience a certain amount of peace, and that's pretty nice. Like, you know, I'm still like a real careful person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like looking for street fights.
Sure.
But that's been like a thing that's like, yeah, I do think so a little bit, yeah. But I think
Yeah.
it's part of it is like they have the ability to express themselves how they would like now because no one can really say anything.
And it just gives you that confidence. Gives you the confidence. Like I don't even want to start a fight.
Yeah,
Like I don't want to
Yeah,
fight
that
you.
too.
Also, I don't
That's-
care anymore.
that's the
Yeah.
most
You
valuable thing
I
martial
have
arts
that,
taught me.
That
You-
self confidence.
Do you feel like you've went more into Bilbo since you've gotten more dangerous?
I think I just
Like you've committed more to just like who cares what anybody thinks? I'm going to be me.
I'm still struggling with that something heavy.
Really?
I care about that a lot, which sucks. But now I know it more.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't do silly stuff in public anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's about
yeah.
it. That's about it. Yeah, I don't pick my nose in public so no one bullies me. That's I'm
'Cause
gonna
I
start
was
doing
saying-
it
still
more.
do that.
I'm gonna start doing it more.
I would say in general, it appears that you live your life without a lot of F's going on. You don't give too many F's.
Yeah,
the way to
I was
be.
really confused. Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
I mean, it's gotten better, I will say, because I used to care a lot, like a lot. But
that's what I think we all at adolescent, like if you go poll a bunch of high school kids, they all feel like if they're whole room's looking at them at all times.
Oh yeah.
You know,
that's so not the case.
That's like a psychological
Yeah.
thing. I think I learned about that.
It's a part
like,
of
in
adolescence.
college.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
like
a-
part of their development, right?
and we say it's us. It's a
Yeah.
part of all of our development, and I think part of just the path because your frontal lobe just turned on fully. 26.
Basically, yeah,
Yeah, 20
26.
Yeah,
I'm
And
still learning.
That's essentially you just crossed from adolescence into full adulthood.
Yeah.
And so I really think a big part of that first journey in the late 20s, early 30s, and I always say the 30-year mark is usually like just spiritual awakening, right? It's like post-adolescent. You get a couple years under your belt to kind of sort some things out, and then you really start to have like this spiritual awakening, and you start kind of almost awakening to this
Yeah.
unseen world. And
Yeah.
Around 25, 26. Yeah. Like I
say between there and
Yeah.
30 is usually maybe in it too that Jesus was crucified, I think, at 32.
33. I thought he lived till 33.
Sure.
33.
But I think it's something about
See it, Patch.
I think it's something about
Let me see,
that.
Two
That's
for two,
you right
baby.
here.
It's
That's
that
you right
window.
here.
It's the
got
it's a
5 on
spiritual
33.
awakening window. Let's say.
Like
got 5.
that was the age where let's go, Mike. Let's see. Let's say how old he was.
April 3rd.
He was 33.
33 AD.
Oh, 33 AD. Oh, I guess so that means he had to be 33 because we go from
Yeah.
right. Or wait, no.
I don't know.
80, you think?
Oh, I don't
think-
know.
I think AD means year of our Lord, so I
Well,
think
if
it would be 33.
Well, if you
Yeah,
think,
it's the year after he's
Year
born
of
that
our
80
Lord, yeah.
starts. 80. No, or is it after death? I thought 80 was.
That's like
what-
Agamemnon or something.
Year of-
knew-
okay,
I
so it
knew-
is when he's born.
Yeah.
I knew it was a Latin phrase.
Honor
I just
Domini.
didn't know how to.
the year of our Lord. So it seems to me like it's based off the year of when he was born, because 33 AD was when he died.
Right,
He was
yeah.
33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
There we go.
But yeah, like dude, that's like it
Bing,
makes
bang,
sense
boom.
though. Like that's when, I stopped going to church around 25, 26, and then like I really replaced it heavily with like a lot of philosophy. Like I started I say a lot less than a lot of people that I know. Like but like I got really into meditations. Like I've read that book every year since 2019. Like I'm in the middle of my 6th read right now. Like
Man, you can get so much different interpretations each time you read it too.
Yeah.
Each time you read
I
it.
have like a highlighter from one year. I have
What's it called? Meditations?
Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you never read that book? Oh, dude. Okay. It is an amazing book.
I've seen the Cliff Notes, let's say, and I always see quotes by him that are kind of tied into a lot of that Stoic
Yeah.
mind.
Do you know anything
framework.
about him?
As far as he was a Roman emperor,
Yeah.
and he was kind of a cruel guy.
No, he was a good guy.
Was he?
I
thought he became reformed. Like,
maybe.
He was a
But
superhero.
one thing I do know is like he did stuff like he sold palace goods to pay for something for the poor people. Like, and then like he did stuff like that. He was just like a real good leader, but it's his diary. It was something that was never supposed to go to the world, and it's just this diary of like he didn't even want to be like emperor.
Was he the one that tried to escape, like when he was a kid or something? I heard a story about an emperor that tried to he was basically next in line.
That's the emperor's new groove is crazy.
but actually escaped and basically. I don't know how it went down, but I just know it was like his desire was to not be an emperor.
Yeah. He didn't want to be an emperor. He wanted to be a philosopher. That's what he wanted to be. But he ended up being. He didn't even want to be sole emperor. So he like made his brother co-emperor because he didn't want all the he's like an interesting dude. But like it's his diary, so it's like a diary of like a really powerful man that you just get to read.
When was he a thing?
I don't know.
What's his name?
Marcus Aurelius. But yeah, I read that.
It was the Roman Empire, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I read one.
Handsome boy. That's on the front of the book right there. That's on the front of the book.
Born April 26, 121, died March 17th, 180.
121.
I feel like that's a good lifespan for that
for that time. Yeah.
Well, he is an
50
emperor, so
years.
He had such a hard life. Like he had like 8 kids. They like all of them but one died. It was like
That's why you have to have fucking 12 of them.
yeah back then. But dude, like he's just like a really interesting character.
Dude, imagine having your diary read 1,900 years later.
But people use it to help themselves. Like that's how good of a thinker you were. Like dude, he has so many in there that are like just bangers. Like my favorite one is like just a soul carrying a corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like
it's like a meat, and basically we are just meat suits, right?
When it just reminds me, like, hey, you gotta go. You gotta go. Like you gotta keep going. Gotta keep like striving.
And the idea that you're actually dying.
Yeah.
From the day you're born. If you want to be real morbid about it, but your days are numbered.
That's real.
Don't waste it.
But I love that book. That's a great. You should like for real. Like that's a book that I advocate for everyone to read. It's a great.
I think
book.
he has one on your story. The quote is that like a.
Are you talking about the one in my
the
my
one
bio?
in the story the one.
Oh, the Daily Stoic
the
thing.
Daily Stoic.
That's a mix of different books that I've read. Like they have some from Letters to a Stoic by Seneca, and then they have Discourses by Epictetus.
Yeah,
and then
Discourses in here.
Discourses is great. I gave my brother that book. Sorry, I'll get really really nerdy with that. I really enjoy that for whatever reason.
Well, and what's cool too is when you look at that was from what said 120 AD, 180.
21.
And so that was just a century after Jesus died, right? And then even going back farther and further, you could look and see the same undertones in a lot of literature, especially in Eastern literature. And you could see a lot of what Romans did. It was like they were the first society to really try to build civilization and kind of control.
That we know of.
Yeah. Well, I guess there were others.
Egyptians a thing.
There were others, but
that's not very much.
But in terms of like their ambition was to become a global civilization, let's say, but they're also the ones that crucified, Jesus, and they were kind of had a lot of leaders that were, I guess, very ruthless.
Yeah.
So you got to think about by the time he's getting in, he's kind of seen people really suffer, and he's seen a lot of things happen, and he's seen the way. So and now you also have access to all the information, because a lot of whenever they're going out and they're conquering civilizations and stuff, they're acquiring the
Yeah.
resources, you know.
Yeah.
And so they were actually able to kind of get all the ancient texts and stuff that probably doesn't even exist. That Library of Alexandria that burnt down.
Oh, that was.
Yeah.
Dude,
Imagine.
the
Yeah.
shit in there.
Well,
Bro. Imagine.
What's crazy too is like when you think about that, like this is applicable to martial arts. Like, have you heard of Plato? You know who Plato is? Do you know
The
do you know why he was called Plato? Plato means plate, and they called him that because he was wide, because he was an Olympic wrestler.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, and so like
That's
so
not
you
his
have
name?
to and so you lost
They had
so
Olympics
much.
back then. I felt like he was like
In the town of
OG.
Olympia.
Yeah. Like he was, but he was like a high level wrestler. Like is the point, and he I want to say, I have to go back and look at this, but I'm pretty sure he was.
Imagine being called plate.
Yeah, because he's so wide. And brother,
I always
Imagine
thought it
the
had
wings
something to
on
do with
that
Pluto.
no,
you would
no,
think,
it means
huh?
he
You
was
would think,
wide.
me too.
And so you had like one of the smartest guys in the world thinking about like
And you got
grappling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Think
and so
about-
it's
think
like
about the circle game.
Yeah, and so it's like I wonder what we. So you had a lot of guys like that who probably also wrestled, because that was
Yeah.
very prevalent in Greek culture.
Yeah.
And so it's just like I wonder like what we lost kind of like in Alexandria as terms of like martial arts, because I bet you they had to have written stuff down.
I bet
They're
they
like,
had
so-
some
like,
wild
that's what I'm
shit.
saying. Like
Yeah.
so you have some of the smartest dudes to ever live. Like, you know what I mean? Like
So Socrates came after Plato.
I don't know.
I feel
the
like it
order.
kind of built off of it.
Socrates, yeah. So
Only we
Socrates came
had-
first. I want to say he came first.
I can't remember
And then it was
which came
Plato. I
first,
can't
the
remember
chicken
the
or the egg.
order. I feel bad for that. I feel like I should know that.
Yeah.
How to spell Socrates.
I just remember hearing Plato as a wrestler. I'm like, fire.
Right. And then I guess then you.
Socrates is not as handsome as Marcus Aurelius.
Oh no.
Socrates looks like shit compared
Well, a
to
lot of the dude. So a lot of them, like Epictetus, was like a slave.
That's Aristotle. Oh,
Yeah, well,
He like walked with a limp.
always. I'm pronouncing these guys wrong.
I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Epic.
Is Aristotle Is it Aristotle Socrates? Is that
Aristotle, I think, is first.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that's
Aristotle,
what it's
Okay,
philosopher
and then
who
what?
came
And
after
then-
Plato, who came after Socrates.
Okay.
saying. After Socrates.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm reading. That's what I'm reading.
But then you get into like all like when you get to like Da Vinci.
Yeah.
And
Love that movie.
and well, it's like everything that what like all these guys were his influences. So it's like everything built, and then you get to like Leonardo da Vinci, and then you see like all his art, how it had all this deep quantum physics actually,
Yeah.
and universal patterns and all this math woven into it, and simple like
Yeah.
the Mona Lisa or the Venturian Man. You know, it's got like code in it.
Yeah.
But it's all ties back in. His whole thing was like as an artist, but then he summarized like all these guys into like almost a modern approach, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's not
You
modern.
think he could have been the OG movement doc?
Probably,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Well, he had
Just-
those
just
sketches.
knowing
He had,
the
I mean, if you look
code.
at like the sketches and stuff that he had too, like he was the guy who made that sketch of the flying man, I think, right? I haven't studied
You're talking about
history
the-
in so long. Yeah, he's that guy, right?
Venturian
yeah.
Man,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool.
That's what I was thinking.
Thanks, Mom.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. Like the OG movement doc. The guy was
Yeah.
kind of mapping out
Sure.
how that went.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the cool part is you see they had a deeper understanding in ways, and we almost got dumb for a while.
Yeah.
And you could almost see in the Industrial Revolution and
a
like
while?
yeah, we're still coming out of it, dude. It's like we're in the culture that's kind of learning that you can learn from babies, because the culture before all said like babies are dumb and everything good's this way,
Yeah.
right? And then everything from the past is we've only developed upon it, so it's all irrelevant, and now we're at the tip of the spear,
Yeah.
right? And the reality is that we're all learning kind of now of the relevance of the ancient wisdom and about the access they had to information. But not only that, how much time could they spend undistracted with a pen and a paper,
Legitimately
with no
undistracted.
noise, no radio, no TV, no cell phone, no internet, nothing.
Entertain yourself.
Just your
silly.
thoughts, just your
Yeah.
thoughts, man.
Yeah.
And it's
And how deep that could go. you know.
I want to one day. I have to figure out how often I want to do this. But like I've done things where like I fasted for a day. I would like to have a day where I don't look like that, basically, where I can't look at any screens or shit like that, and just see how that day goes.
You know what's nice?
Probably read a lot.
You know what's
honestly,
nice that I like to do a lot, especially before fight camps or during fight
Is
camps.
this the camping?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't look at my phone. I don't look at my phone.
Yeah, you just get to go out there and you figure out, like, I love that. I love going and being in nature before fights. Because it's like,
nice.
you get reminded that the world's bigger than you.
I'm such a small little dude here.
Yeah.
Because, dude, when you're out there, like the first time I kayaked up the river and I found myself somewhere in the middle of Socha, really. No noise. Couldn't hear a car. All you hear is the river. And, dude, I cowboy camp, which is basically like sleeping on the ground.
Yeah.
Dude, when you wake up or like when you go to sleep, it is the best night's sleep you get, honestly, even though you're sleeping on the ground. But, dude, next to a little fire,
Yeah.
no light pollution.
You're grounded too.
That's how I
It's
did
the
last
best
time.
sky.
Except I was in a hammock.
Yeah, I can do that too. I can do
Had
that
my
too.
Inu.
But a lot of times you got tree coverage over that, so it's hard for me to see the stars when I'm in a hammock, and I like to see. That's like one of my favorite parts about going out
No
there.
doubt.
That and disconnecting.
Yeah.
It's hard to see the stars, in the city or anything like of that nature.
Well, what happens when you purge, actually, like if you notice, if you go on like a stimulation purge
like a
from
little month,
from
yeah.
technology or whatever, anything electromagnetic, you kind of have a withdrawal. It's almost like
Yeah, bro.
the third day that, let's say you go on a vacation, and it's like the third day, not the day you arrive, not the second day, but the third day. It's almost like you've detoxed a bit, and like you can actually feel disconnected from those things.
Yeah.
And your brain attention, because you got to think your brain doesn't know, and everything's designed to grab your attention. That's why it lights up, it makes the ding or the noise, and it's like it draws your attention, the notifications and things like that. And then we don't notice, like, if that light went out really slowly over this entire podcast, we'd get to the end of the podcast and we'd be talking and never notice it.
Yeah.
Right.
But if it just turned off, we'd all be like, what the hell is going on?
happened?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of gaining like a higher awareness, and a lot of where I feel like mindfulness plays a huge part into health and just happiness and wholeness as a modern human. It really is all, to me, it's like focus on your awareness over everything.
Yeah.
And because we have so many things pulling on our attention, and anything we're reacting to or we're a slave to. And I think that that's what I'm rebellious against, is the idea of
Being a slave to something.
Yeah.
and reflecting on my life one day and actually realizing where I was on autopilot, or I was kind of being controlled by things and not having full sovereignty over my sovereignty, loves that word, over my life and actions,
Absolutely.
because I really think that sovereignty in itself, the right to self-determine and to be whole in the way that, like, wherever you are, wherever you end up, like, you're sovereign for that. I chose the path.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And that's important. And I think that's what's cool about your life and approach, and that you're okay with that.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's what I love about Bilbo too, because he'll even say, like, oh man, my thing is, he said, he just say stupid stuff sometimes. I don't even know if how he really feels. He's like, yeah, I'm all about being mediocre. And, or say some dumb stuff like that. I'm like, bro, that doesn't, like, you say that, but like, I watch what you do and it doesn't look mediocre.
That was me.
No one wants to be mediocre.
That was
Right.
me in school and
But
things
damn
I
it.
didn't care about.
Oh, that's
That's
real.
the other thing too, man.
That's real.
Like, you want to talk about like the mindfulness thing. So I was talking about how hardworking and amazing my father was. But I was like, man, if I'm gonna have to work hard like my old man, I better make sure I really
like it.
what I do.
Yeah, or else you're only going to give fucking half yourself to it.
Yeah, and then also, yeah, exactly. And then also too, like, I don't think I'm gonna come back and be a good spouse and a good dad if I'm just like, I've been in a place I hate all day.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
That's
so
right.
like, yeah, I probably think about that too much as a man with no kids, but like,
But
Well,
still, at least
now
you're
you have a
prepping.
chance to do something about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's part of the reason I want to eventually like own my own school. And I
Yeah.
can just spend time with my kids all day. Like that sounds,
Yeah.
that's like, that's what my mom did with
Like,
me.
Mike
basically.
and Ace.
Yeah, exactly.
Always
exactly.
running around the gym. Your two
Like
kids.
that's what I want. Yeah, exactly. That's
Always
like,
hanging out. They're here now. You know, always
That's
hanging out.
huge.
Yeah, well, because me and my family are so close, like me and my brothers and stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
That's half the reason I didn't want to move from here. Like
Yeah.
I could have lived in Denver for the rest of my days.
Yeah.
Oh, I could have lived in Denver.
Yeah, but when
for
your
the rest of
family's
my
not
day.
near.
Yeah, it's hard.
I can remember the first time I was working dry needling a patient actually, and like Ace was like 2 years old, and he's just like running around the clinic, just causing chaos. And at that age, they can get away with murder. And I just remember being like, and just having that moment of where I'm like, oh, is he gonna like offend a patient or whatever, and just being like, I don't give a shit. He's my son,
Yeah.
and if they don't like it, they can go somewhere else. Like,
My man.
but
Throw a
it's
flip
just
flop at him sometimes.
to have that
Not John
that idea of like, and at the same token, if my therapist downstairs have a youngster that they don't have a babysitter and like hey, this is a family environment. Like they can be here. Like if you can't deal with
sometimes.
kids, then something's wrong with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Dude,
yeah.
We have people like if you train in the morning, we have this guy named Philip. He brings his daughter all the time. Like sometimes he'll bring 2 of his kids. I'm like, bro, go. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, sorry for what? Like, what do you mean? Like
They're here,
go
you're
put
here.
them. Yeah, go put them. They can play in that corner spot like the entire time we're training. I don't care.
We don't have
Just like be
Playboy
careful they don't run
posters
off
on
the
the
mats
wall.
because I don't want them to get hurt. Not that I care that they're here. Like,
you know how many
what I mean?
times I've literally had one of my 2 kids at young ages just having them with me at the gym where they're like chasing some other giant person and they're like trying to crawl under the ring and like had to pull them out right before their hand gets stepped on.
Oh, bro.
Like, it's like,
What are you doing?
but it's like to them, it's like they've grown up around it in a way where this is all normal.
Yeah.
You know, this is all normal. But also, you'll notice with both my kids, like when you're coaching them or they're working against other kids, it is a game. They understand it as a game. They don't really. They don't have all this fear and this anxiety about what they're just like, oh,
good.
we're here to play,
Yeah.
That's a win.
this game or
That's a
do
win.
this stuff. Yeah, so it's like that's important
When I was
because
growing up, you were seen and not heard,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that was kind of unhealthy in some ways. Because, like, man, you are just a kid.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're doing here, and you get put in those environments. I think that's really healthy for you.
Yeah.
You're just running around a gym or running around the place of work. You know,
Yeah.
Well, also, man, sometimes you realize that like they're so much smarter than you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I told you this story at Slugfest, but this is still one of my favorite stories, so I'm just gonna say it again. Like we were talking about like it was like self-esteem or something like that, but it was like you should talk to yourself the same way you talk to your friends. Like you know what I mean?
yeah,
re-raise
even
yourself.
worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, talk to yourself like you're a father talking to your son.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I like, I would use the example, be like, if me and Bilbo are friends and he messes up on the move, I wouldn't be like, haha, Bilbo, you suck. You're never gonna get the move because I wouldn't be a good friend. And yeah, exactly.
Bill
So-
was like, that's kind of how I.
That's how I talk to myself. You should hear me try to learn a new song on the guitar.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm literally reading the song.
Yeah.
I will slap myself in the chest. Stupid bitch. I'll be getting so mad at myself. I'll start clicking my chin like you dummy.
So
Idiot.
we were talking about that, and the next day I did something dumb. I was like, man, I had a full dummy head moment, and the kid was like, talk about it. And that's so this is the like now when I'm
That's
about
so
to
sweet.
talk bad about myself, this is like the little voice that I hear in my head, and like, you know what, Sean, you're right.
Yeah.
I won't say that about
Yeah,
myself.
man.
And it's
Oh,
like,
that's
yeah,
so
but like,
nice.
okay, but like, you see what
That's so
I'm saying?
nice.
Like it took like an 8-year-old, like,
100%.
like saying it to me for me to get it, and it's like, but like, that,
What a win that
but
is.
that's why I like working with the kids, man. Like yeah, man.
Because it's truth, and it's they're telling you what they're experiencing, and they're like, "Well, you said not to do this, so why are you doing
Yeah,
it?"
exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you for. Well, also, thank you for holding me accountable.
That's right.
But like that's like what a real friend does.
right.
So like, I don't know, man. I have fun with the kids. Like, I'm not like a general. Like, I'm like, hey, like you got to be working.
Yeah,
But like, I'll say something and they'll look at me and they'll be like, aye, Captain. And I'll look at them and I'll be like, I can't hear you. And then we'll just all start singing the SpongeBob thing.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not good with kids at all, dude.
they're so fun.
I'm not good. They are funny. Oh, they're funny.
Yeah.
I'm getting like kids sprinkled in here and there in the
You wanna-
kickboxing classes.
You want to know the trick?
They listen more than the
Yeah.
adults.
You want to know the trick to dealing with them though and being good with them?
Beating them.
No. You ready? Like for real? You ready? I'm about to
I would
drop
love
some knowledge
that.
on
I
you.
would love that.
you got to raise your voice up just by an octave a little bit, just like this, so you don't sound so scary when I talk to you. See how it sounds like I'm patronizing you?
Yeah.
But really, if I talk down here like my normal voice, that's not scary to you because, you know, we're the same size. But if you're a little kid who's like half your height, you're like,
Holy crap.
I get lower. I like Kratos the shit out of these kids. That's so bad. I'm like, listen, boy,
Hey, listen here, boy.
you're not raising your knee up to the desired height, dude. And they're like, well, where's it at then? At your chest. No, it actually is bad. I try to talk to him like I'm talking to you, really.
You can talk to them like you're talking to an adult, but it's about like raising your voice, and so you're not as intimidated.
Yeah, okay, I'll try it.
And then the biggest thing, you hit them with what I call PCP, which is praise, correct, praise.
I'm glad you said
Right?
that.
So it's like, hey, buddy, you did such a good job with this thing. You should probably fix this, insert whatever the worst mistake is.
Yeah.
And then, but you also did really good on this, and then you just leave.
Yeah.
And they remember, he said 2 great things about me, and then, I just need to remember this one thing I need to fix, and they usually fix
Right.
it. That's like, if you do those 2
I could
things,
do that
brother,
with the adults.
I promise
That's
it'll
probably
be. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that to grown men.
No, because
They'll get a little pissy with
no,
you,
believe
bro.
it or not,
I'll keep my voice down, though.
the grown men will only hear the negative. So if you praise and then criticize and then praise, they'll literally be like, "What'd you say?"
Yeah.
Be like, "No, bro, I just literally gave you like 66% compliments."
Yeah.
Like,
It's so true,
That
though.
last third sucked ass.
yeah.
I usually just do cues with the adults. Like, I'll be watching them go through, and I'll be like, blank,
Yeah.
elbow down, turn
Yeah.
foot.
Yeah, keep it simple.
And until they just finally get it right, I'm like, stay there, right there,
That's
right
okay
there.
with adults.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah.
Like kids, I feel like you have to be a little more like a hype man.
I have
Yeah.
to stop the
Like, you
kids.
know what I mean?
Ooh, I have
It's
to stop the
energy.
kids. Yeah.
Because they're all like, you can have like, you watch kids at baseball practice and they're just kind of like, oh, I got out of school, you know, like I'm here. Like, but if they have a coach that's like enthusiastic and that's getting them, hey, let's go, you line up here, this is what we're working on. Immediately you just see there's a different, now their energy is following that coach because, you know, they're a kid, they're waiting to follow, you know,
And
so.
oh, no, for sure, man. And then
Sandra just dumped him today, and he's really sad about
and that's like one of those things, like, I'm glad I like working with them because I don't have to fake that energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a win.
Like, adults, I'll probably talk a little more like we're talking right now, but like,
Yeah.
kids, I'm always like real high energy, but it's just,
That's crazy.
they're just, dude, I've done a bunch of stuff. Like, have I told you about the time, like, I went during the Olympic Games? I taught sports camps to underprivileged kids. That's what I did. in
Underprivileged?
London. I taught them how to wrestle.
Oh,
there were
yeah,
poor
yeah,
kids
yeah,
in
you did tell me that.
Hertfordshire,
That's so fun.
England.
Right.
And I taught them how to wrestle.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. Like,
The
I just
single legs.
like doing it, man.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, man. Like I said, I had like a lot of really great male role models, and like I remember the impact they have on me. So I just like constantly think to myself, like, if I can just have that impact on like one person, one kid,
Sure.
I'm good. And then I feel like because of that, I've hopefully had an impact on more than like one person. But like, yeah, I don't know, man.
What do you think you would feel like if you had to teach kids something that you didn't like to do? You think it'd be the same way? Because if I teach kids Muay Thai, I'm like, hell yeah, you want to learn Muay Thai?
And
You can come follow. I have a different energy than like, hey, Mr. Bilbo, can you teach me how to screw in a light socket? I'm just gonna look at you silly.
No, I see
Like a light bulb or something.
Do you even know how to screw in a light bulb?
Kinda.
He
It
just-
depends on the light bulb.
I just taught him that one.
Yeah. Read the instructions.
I don't
Fascia
think
daddy.
so.
Yeah, the fascia daddy. I don't know. Google it, dummy.
I don't think so, man. Because I think
think I would
that that's why I didn't become a school teacher.
Yeah.
Because I was like, the teachers here don't get paid enough for one, and I wasn't gonna work with high schoolers. I wanted to work with like middle and grade schoolers.
High schoolers already got it figured out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and honestly, it wasn't until Aiden Lamas that like I really learned to enjoy trying. I don't want to say mentor him, but like just try to help him out. Like he was the one who taught me to enjoy that, like
Shout
that
out
process.
the anomaly.
Yeah, but just because like.
He looked at you as a leader.
Yeah, well, I looked at him and I just saw the kid I was when I was, like, if I'm being honest. Because, like, he would show up to the practices. If he didn't have school that day, he would show up to both practices because this was just the kind of kid that he was. And
Similar build too.
Yeah.
Similar build.
yeah,
too.
similar build, similar age. Like we like similar stuff. So like I just really felt like
Easy to look
yeah,
at yourself.
and yeah, exactly. And I'd be like, I want to help that person because I think he could be successful, and because he trains hard like me, I want to help him do that. So like,
Yeah.
that's
I
when
can
I
see that.
learned. That's when I learned to enjoy that.
I can see
You know
that
what I
heavy.
mean?
Yeah.
And you know what's funny when you're a dad? A lot of times, like you were talking about earlier, like, you know, a lot of dads put in the time and they're doing their thing, and then they come home and they're actually at the end of their gas tank. And then now, but when you walk in the door, it's the game just began.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit what you've been doing all day. Dad's home. It's time to play. It's time to
100%.
get after it.
Let's
It's
get
time
wild.
to,
Yeah.
Throw me in the air.
right. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of days, and I swear I'll be like, give me 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes from the time I walk in the door. Just give me 10 minutes to grab something to drink,
Yeah.
you know, to use the bathroom, like,
Mentally
do whatever.
reset.
Yeah.
But some days it's just like you go right into it. But it's like that is so important because we sometimes will give, especially when we're coaching, teaching, whatever, we're dealing with people, we're helping people. But then it's like you could give your leftovers to your kids.
Yeah.
So that's where you really do have to manufacture enthusiasm, and you have to like literally check in.
When you have to do it all day.
Yeah, because when you do it
absolutely.
wrong, it's already too late. You've already walked in the house, and now they see you like this, and now they're a little like, oh shit, you know. And so you're still the thermostat.
Oh
but
yeah.
now you're bringing in, and the thing is, your family will be very. You have one nervous system. Like your home is like one nervous system. So a lot of people get frustrated with their kids, and you know, it's so it could be, it is selfish in a way.
Yeah.
But then really it's like your kids are usually responding to what you're bringing to the table. And so setting the tone, setting the energy, and checking in, like walking in with some enthusiasm, and not being like, oh, we got to go jump on the trampoline again.
Yeah.
You know, because some days I kind of feel that. Like, I'm like, damn, I really don't feel like jumping on the trampoline. I've been doing it so
For the
much.
18th day in a row.
Right. But also, every time I'm like, all right, I don't feel like doing it. Just like we were talking about earlier with the trash.
Yeah.
All right, but I know this is a duty. I have to do it. So let's go. You know, we go jump on the trampoline. You jump on the trampoline for a couple minutes, and all of a sudden you got a little energy.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, this is nice. This ain't so bad. You know, like, you know, it's like sometimes you got to put out a little energy
Second
to get
wind.
some.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Like,
You know, get a little second wind, and sometimes you do got to kind of overcome your tiredness or you're not feeling like it, and you kind of do got to manufacture, because it's not really about you. It's like the regret that that you would have in your life would be like that moment right there.
Oh yeah.
The one where you tell your
100%.
kid no,
Yeah.
and now they go jump on their iPad instead of having a
trampoline.
moment with you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
That's like one thing. I know I've talked about my
like
dad a lot this podcast, but that's like one thing I feel like he did so great, man. Like I had a really present father, bro. Like he would come, and this is like after like I was talking about how he like came home after working like 12-hour or more days. You know, he would dude, he would read to me like every night. Like, you know what I mean? And when he got home, he was present. Like he was there. He wasn't like sitting down watching TV.
He
was
understood the
interacting
assignment.
he was interacting with my mother. Like my dad's gonna hate me for telling this story publicly, but this is one of my favorite memories of my dad, right? Like he came home one day and I just happened to be home, and I wanted him to come jump in the trampoline with me, kind of like what you're talking about, right? It was like, or no, it was a Saturday afternoon because he worked Saturdays. And we ended up getting into a fight where we just wiped snot on each other's shirts. And I remember my mom was so pissed.
She had to do the shirt washing. She had to do the shirt washing.
But like,
Why
you know,
the hell
but
is on your
my dad
shirts?
came home from after work to do that. And then as a
Wiped snot on
grown
the
man, my
floor.
dad came to every single one of my fights, except for one which was out of town. He couldn't get off work. Like, yeah.
cool.
But just kind of like what you're talking about. Like, that's exactly like, I saw that in my life every day. Like, and I'm super grateful
That's
for
why you're
it.
not the iPad kid. That's why you're reading every day. You know what I'm saying?
I watch my dad read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My parents have a ton of books.
Yeah. And I really think the best form of parenting is really becoming the best version of yourself as a parent. And your kids are going to reflect that. And they're going to see if you're disciplined and you're doing things that you're supposed to do for you, that's good for you as an individual, then essentially they're more likely to mirror that in their lives and mirror that vibration that you kind of emit.
Exactly.
You know, and even if we're struggling and suffering with anxiety, or we're like, well, they can't tell, you know, because it's inside.
Yeah.
You know, so we have this turmoil internally, and then we're just kind of, we're here, I'm present, like I'm doing the thing, like but you're not, like there's something inside of you that ain't right. That's a part of it,
dude.
Exactly.
Kids will feel it.
They
They're
are a
so
part of you,
intuitive.
man. They are a part
That's
of
why.
you.
That's why I like them.
They are a part
And that's
of you.
also like, okay, so talking about Mikey, right? Like that's like, it's gonna sound so weird, but like, I understood Mikey better after he had Ace because like something about seeing his son, like, and knowing, I'm like he'll make like a little face. I'm like, I've been watching Mike for 10 years. I know he's made that face. And, but like, so I've gotten deeper friendships with people from understanding their children,
kids,
kind of
100%.
talking like a.
That's why
I don't know if that's weird or
That's
not.
crazy.
But
No,
like,
it's good. It's good. I
like, and it's
understood
because
it.
I understand them better, and I think it's just because probably I've worked with kids for longer, so maybe I understand them a little better. So it's like, oh, this is like the base thing that like I interpolated that's more complex in you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet
feel that.
with my, because Ace is really, that's like his frequency is like that's what was mine. Like his personality is kind of a lot of how I was, my baseline, I guess you could say. But what's funny is I'm very different from that now.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that where I'm like, damn, that is just how I was. And then with Max, he's actually more like, his base wiring is more like Chelsea's. Like just the general personality and the way they respond to things even is very similar.
Yeah.
It's really funny, man.
Yeah, that is kind of cool though. I like that. I like that. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm more my dad for sure. Internally.
Yeah.
Internally. Externally, I look just like my mom though.
See, I feel like I'm like a good mixture. Like my mom's a more outgoing person who would like to do things like talk, but like, dude, my dad's like the real quiet one in the back that'll just say something absolutely hilarious. Like you just didn't even hear.
cold-cut
You know how
killer.
like, you know how David will like say something that's like just random and you're just like dead on the floor. Okay, like my dad he gets that from my
slips 'em
father.
in. Oh, he slips them in like jabs.
Yeah. Oh,
Slips
bro,
him in
he's
like jabs.
That's the funniest person I know. It's my little brother, man. My youngest.
And Chris is just beautiful. Y'all have a goofy family dynamic.
I hate, I can't tell you how much I hate being the oldest one and being the shortest.
Yeah, that is ugly.
So much smack gets
And your
talked.
brother,
That is ugly,
you said
yeah.
now
You
he's
deserve
working doing some modeling?
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris,
boy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He didn't
man.
look like he was from Mississippi, huh?
No,
Not
he
even
did
a little
not.
bit.
He looked like he
From
looked
New
like
York or something.
Yeah.
you know?
They came to one of my shows one time, and Chris always dresses like I don't know,
ripped up.
Yeah,
Dripped the hell
Ice
up.
Daddy. He dresses like
Dude, my
It's
favorite.
just dripped out.
My favorite is when he wears his "I Heart Hot Moms" T-shirt.
Right.
That's
Chris walked into a river bar
oh yeah, I brought him to
Yeah.
to your performance.
filled with people that are just wearing Asics and just tattered shirts.
Wearing Asics.
Just tattered shirts, Dollar General glasses, and this motherfucker walks in here smelling so good, wearing like a sports coat, bruh. And you're like,
Not the
Da
Dior.
Vinci's in it. Dior's in it. Wearing Dior. And you're like, what is going on right now? And everybody from my friend group's like, who's the model that just walked in here? And they were using those words. Like, who's the most beautiful man I've ever seen walk in
I'm
this?
I'm so angry with him because it's like, bro, he gets to be like this dark caramel color, like because we're Hispanic, and he also gets to be 6'2", and I'm just like pasty white 5'9". It's like, God, you couldn't have given me one of those things. I would have taken either. I guess I got my mom's hair, but like
Yeah, that's about it.
that's about it. That's literally about it.
Dude.
And do you have any other siblings?
My sister, I have a sister.
How old is? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, my sister's
Yeah, I know
like
your sister. Yeah.
My sister's 27.
Mhm. I haven't seen her in years.
She has a kid now and lives like in Florida and like baby
of them live
Blue
in
is what I
Florida.
call him because he loves Bluey, so I just call him Blue and he's got like these blue eyes.
Nice.
So yeah, we
Cute
wrestle.
baby.
We wrestle now. He
Cute
just learned how to
baby.
walk, so like I will literally wrestle. I went to go see him for Christmas. We'll wrestle. Like I'll take him down and he'll stand up. It's great.
That's what it
He's
is.
so
Did he
funny.
take you down yet or what?
Yeah, I'm trying to teach him,
yeah, he don't get it.
but he's getting it. He's
don't
getting
get
it.
it.
Walking first, but
Yeah.
Let's figure that part out.
Well, that's what's cool watching you train with different people is that you can literally train with like a 4-year-old or trained with like Alan, like in the way that you have helped my kids also learn how to work at the level of the person they're working with, and that's always cool. And I think it's a good judge of like a good coach, a good kids coach, is when the kids understand how to make it productive for the other kids.
Yeah.
And so you'll have certain killer kids in there that have been training a long time, and they're very good at getting a sense of what that person's skill level is, and actually they'll let them work.
Yeah.
You know, they're not just dominating. And I think that's like, that's really, it says a lot because you're building character in them.
Yeah.
Well, it's a cultural thing too. Like I roll with my kids, and so like when I catch them rolling rough, I'm like, and they're like way bigger than someone. I'm like, hey, I'm way bigger than you.
Yeah.
Do I wrestle with you like that? How would you feel if I wrestled you like that? And they're always like, man, that wouldn't be very fun for me. And I'm like, yeah, but when I roll with you, is it fun for the both of us? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so like that's how you got to roll with them, buddy.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so.
No, that wouldn't happen to me. I would. No.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen to me. I would mat bully
Bilbo
him.
goes,
I would mat bully him. I would. Yeah.
I would
For
mad
sure.
bully him.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, come hang out with me, Todd. You just got done bullying
Tell them
somebody.
about your favorite activity in the grocery store.
Oh, just tripping kids.
Yo.
It is the funnest thing in the
And then
world. Like when they like.
Bro, they're not coordinated. You can just
Yeah.
blame it on that. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? I didn't trip you.
Who you gonna
he already
believe?
knows.
They're not pulling the cameras because you fell.
We need to make an edit of Bilbo sweeping that dude in Slugfest and just replace it with a 5th grader.
We can send the chief officer social media doing that shit, dude.
I want to make a video of you just like slapping
Like
down
in-
all my kids' programs.
And an Audi.
All right. Funniest moment funniest moment you can remember in the history of jiu-jitsu classes or being around.
Okay, my favorite story. This one's so funny.
to think.
So, I'm gonna go. Can I have like one for kids and then like one for adults? Okay, so for kids, this is the funniest story ever. I had this little boy. He goes, "You want to see me do my super secret ninja jump kick?" And I'm like, "Of course, yeah. Of course, the answer to this question is yes. Like, how is it anything else?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He jumps both feet in the air, kicks the bag, lands flat on his back. And I'm just like, okay, so this kid's like 5, right? And I'm just like, oh shit. Like, he's gonna get up, he's gonna start crying. It's just me. There's like 20 other kids. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he gets up, he goes, "You wanna see it again?" And I'm like,
Yeah, dude.
And I'm like, nah, buddy.
I'm
like,
good,
nah.
man.
got
Yeah,
you.
that was great.
And then honestly, I think my favorite adult moment is like, I think it was the day. I have a few. Getting to promote my brothers was always a really special moment, and my girlfriend. That was always real special. But I think like one of my most special moments as a coach was when me, you, and Aiden and Gavin all went to Louisiana. I feel
that
like
went
that,
hard.
that whole run where you
hard.
both won by like RNC in like the second round was like
me and
I've been
Aiden.
riding
Weird
that
naked
high as a
choke.
coach.
Yeah.
You know what I
Talk
mean?
about a weekend. That's a funny weekend.
Well, that's what I'm
That was a
saying.
great
We were playing
weekend.
like Smash Brothers in the hotel room.
Bro, in a room full of nothing but just absolute killers. You got UFC vets in there. You got people that are in the UFC, like Brendan Allen are chilling in there. All these
Yeah.
strong, tatted coaches,
this is
head coaches, and just killers in that motherfucker. And then my coach, as we're weighing in, we have gone to buy coloring books, and this guy is laying on his belly with his feet in the air, kicking his one-piece Vans in the air, using those twisty color pencils, I think.
Yeah, they were
And I'm just coloring some. He goes, "I like to use the real colors because when they aren't the real colors that they are in the game, it makes me sad." And I'm like, and I'm going,
too.
and I'm like, I love this place. This is the best. This right here is one of my best friends. He is like I don't know. What are you doing today? Like, you know those old cartoons where the girl's talking to the boyfriend and she's like twirling the phone wire. You're doing that shit and your feet's kicking in the air and you're coloring Mario. The
Mario, I was coloring Mario.
correct colors too, inside the lines, not dicking around. And all of us are just starving, trying to weigh in, trying to act tough. And my friend group's over there just coloring and shit.
Just color. I forgot, dude. I forgot I was coloring it.
Yeah.
God. It was so fun.
Yeah.
That was so fun. And we did probably just play Smash Bros for hours and eat terrible food while we were waiting for this damn fight to start up.
Sure.
It was great. That was great. That was
So
one of the best weekends ever. You're right.
That has
that
to be
was, yeah.
has to be up there for sure.
That was up there.
Well, I think Alex is probably in the same school of thought as me. Is like a fight is already so full of pressure.
Yeah.
Like as a coach or even a friend, in
just wanted
like
to
where you're
color.
influencing your guy that's fighting, like you got to really break tension and like keep it light. And
Yeah, bro.
You don't want to add pressure to
I
the
think
situation.
that's just what he wanted to do at the
Yeah.
time. I think he just wanted
Sure.
a damn color.
Yeah, but knowing Alex, he's more intentional than people realize.
Yeah, yeah.
In his mind, that might have been the best thing that he could do to lower your
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And even if he wasn't thinking about it, I think it's part of his nature, his intuition. You know.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
I don't like
Truly,
to
truly.
act worried because like I've seen coaches around people who like make them more anxious, and it's just like so I just always try to shoot the shit or like I don't
Yeah.
want to be in like you'll never see me be like you're gonna kill him Rah! Like
Yeah.
I'm like hey bro
Yeah.
like what you want to eat after this like what are you thinking
Truly.
about eating bro
Truly.
like
Right.
You remember?
what you want to watch when we get back to the hotel
Not the fight. Yeah, not the fight before last, but no, yeah, it was the fight before last. Yeah, yeah, we were playing soccer with a tennis ball in the back, just
oh yeah
all fully gloved up, or hand wrap and everything signed off. We're just kicking the ball around in there. We're not doing anything that has to do with fighting at all.
That's a cheat
just
code.
kicking around.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Honestly, it's a cheat code. But like I said, a lot of the cheat codes easily get dismissed because it's like, well, okay, you're being silly for a fight, real smart.
Yeah.
You should be in a quiet room with your eyes closed, listening to headphones and ignoring everybody,
Yeah,
like
hitting pads.
or hitting pads or like whatever people do that's just super serious, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your goal to me is to be the most present version of yourself and feel good, right?
Mhm.
And so it's also you don't want to be like in denial or distracting yourself per se. Like
Some
a little
people-
bit of that's okay.
Some people are good at that though. Like they have different ways to get ready. I think me just chilling and having fun in the back is the best way. Some people, or the best way for me rather. But some people are really just in love with the idea of just sitting down and going over all the possibilities in their noggin. I know Brandon does that, and that's his. I mean, Brandon does great every fight, you know. And it's like, oh, that's what you have to do. Okay,
I
you
also
got
feel
it.
he's very chill though. He's
Yeah,
not
he is.
very.
He is
He's
very
doing
chill.
all that, but you don't see him. I'll see people doing that, but
he
they'll be
doesn't
like
waste a
they'll be
lot.
like pacing the room.
Yeah,
where
freaking
Brandon's
out a
just
little
like you know he's like
Yeah.
Brandon's stereotypical cool guy. Like he's
But
got the
yeah.
lean back.
Well,
yeah,
also, he's
but you know
not-
he's thinking.
You also
He is so effortlessly cool.
Well,
you know what I'm
that's
talking
a
about.
bitch.
You know the
That's a
lean I'm
bitch,
talking
yeah.
about. He's like this.
Yeah, man.
Well,
That does suck. I wish I could do that.
He's hard to shake up. You know,
he
he's
is.
not easily perturbed. So like he's the type where he takes pride in like where he'll come to practice with all of his kids and like have a bag on each shoulder and like be baby bottle in this hand and still be able to like have full practice and never get like frustrated
Yeah.
about it and I'm like I respect that because he's like it's a double-edged sword though because I've also watched him feel like he take on more like because he can
Yeah.
and he's got such a crazy like will but then also he's a type where he can talk about the fight and visualize negative possibilities for the fight and it's just like a conversation. It's just like he doesn't make more out of it, whereas like Chase, you start talking about anything that he has to visualize, that it's just too much right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's better. For him, it's better. It's actually the best he does is actually kind of distract himself and not getting stuck thinking about anything and just kind of keeping his mind off of it.
Yeah.
Coloring in color books.
Yeah, like, that's why I have
I mean,
like
dude, that's
legit.
that's
I'll
what
color
it's
at
for.
tournaments. You'll see me like coloring like while I'm waiting for
what
my
it's
matches
for.
because I'm like.
Got zone out of that.
Well, also like when you're doing that, you're not present in the moment. You're really in the future, and like you're causing yourself anguish about shit that hasn't
That's right.
happened yet. And
Yeah,
that's like
pre-stress.
You're
Yeah.
burning
Why?
Pre-stress.
energy.
Yeah.
It's energy at the end of the day, and I think we just take for granted. We were talking about this earlier, where you can take for granted micro decisions and little things that you don't think are a problem, but when you're as a fighter, and again, you're trying to step in there the best version of yourself, and you sit there, even wasting time on what you're going to wear that day, what you're going to eat, what having to do that's it's energy, and you don't want to give that up. I don't think, and I think a big part of supporting a guy in fight week, fight camp, is really just kind of helping them stay in reality first off, not a fantasy where, like, I used to hate, and I've seen a lot of coaches do this, where they're always talking to their fighter where they're like, oh man, this guy is not very good, and he doesn't do this well, and he doesn't do that well. And I'm like, that's not good either. Like, that's not what you want to do either, because now you never want to think about or disrespect or limit your opponent's abilities. All that can do is hurt you.
Underestimating your opponent is like the first step to lose.
Right.
I feel like.
And also, you're focusing on them.
Yeah, not you.
No, focus on you. Only you.
What are you doing right now?
That's
to
right.
Make yourself better.
That's right.
Yeah.
I heard Yuri Prohaska talking about, how he talked a little bit about black magic when he fought Pereira. He was like, oh, he's using black magic and da-da-da. And I heard him reflect on that on the Joe Rogan podcast afterwards.
Yeah,
and he was like,
that too.
he's like, yeah. He goes, yes, it was dark magic. But he goes, in the moment, and obviously the heat of the moment, and him being such a spiritual guy, he goes, in that moment, it did feel like it was some satanic shit or something.
Right.
It was dark. And then at this juncture, he's like looking at it and understanding it with a clear mind. He goes, it was dark magic because I labeled it as such. I was focusing on him, and I was thinking about it versus in these forces at play that are out of my control. And he's like, and that's where I messed up. He goes, because I manifested the dark magic. Yeah. Had I just been like, I'm gonna focus on me, or had he found a way to just like not acknowledge that, then it didn't exist.
Yeah, I don't think he would have won. No. But I don't think he would have. But what do I know?
That's because Potan is amazing.
He's unbelievable. But would you say he's mastered the art of like pure just focus? And it seems to me when I watch him, he seems like he is so present, like nothing else exists.
He's got like, man. Okay, so like he has. I'm gonna explain this in like anime terms because it's the most realistic thing. So in my favorite anime, there's something called Conqueror's Hockey, and hockey just means will. It means will in Japanese. But like there's some people, and I found particularly with high level competitors, you can feel that will radiate off of them just the same way that they do in the comics. And I feel it anytime I roll with Alan. Like, he may not be letting it out, but I can feel it, like, under the surface. That if he just wanted to turn that on, like, I felt like that with, like, like, Brandon's another example. Like, when, he's got, like, it's like aura. Like, you see it, like, in Dragon Ball Z, where they're like, and they have the thing. Like, that's what, like, that's a real thing that, like, high-level competitors have. Yeah, it's like, you can feel their pressure, like, emanating from them. Like, I can't explain it. Like, I know that sounds crazy.
I hope people talk about me like this. Yeah. I hope there's some podcast out there going, you know that motherfucker Bilbo?
Yeah.
I seen like his aura. Yeah, like an orange aura.
Oh, yeah.
What's that? The Dave Chappelle skit. I seen like his aura. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about
Well, I think that's the past of the martial artist, and I've kind of learned that too, working with Alan and hearing a lot of him conceptualize some of this in terms of competition. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the techniques in the world, you can have all the training in the world, you can have all whatever, but when it's at the end of the day, the primal idea of just you and another human in a confined space, and only one person wins and one person loses, it comes down to like the will, the competitive will, and it comes down to he talks a lot about that's the game he's kind of playing, where he'll notice it in Alan.
Okay.
Or even in terms of breaking a person. Like, you watch a really refined martial artist in a fight where, for instance, they'll hurt somebody, but understanding that if I hurt you on the feet, then why would I need to let you recover by jumping on top of you? No, like having the presence of mind to not just attack and maul and go into that mode of the fight, but actually, no, stand your ass back up.
Yeah.
You know, and now just
not just rush in.
Dismantle.
Yeah.
And not just physically, you're literally stealing their will. You're capturing their will. And Alan says it's like all you need is one seed of doubt. So that person's literally going into this every moment up until this through fight camp to this moment where I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. They're manufacturing. I'm winning. I'm winning. I'm gonna win. That's the vision they have for how this is gonna go. And he said, all you need is one moment to where they can contemplate an alternate reality where now I might lose. Yeah. And now unconsciously, and I've heard Chase talk about this, now he's starting to think to create stories in the middle of the fight as to, okay, like almost like accepting the loss and drawing like narratives of like, it'll be okay or whatever. And it's just like, it really just starts as like a little seed where you make him doubt, the seed of doubt.
It's a judgment about the scenario. Like it's like you're not. It's like, okay, you know how we're talking about not being present. That's like another version of not being present in the moment, right? Because it's like, okay, you might actually objectively be in a bad position, but like if someone's on top of me or whatever, like thinking, oh man, this sucks. I'm in a bad position. Like I'm making a judgment instead of trying to like fix the problem. You know what I mean? Or create a narrative instead of fix the problem, right?
Because it's easy to do that when somebody's mounting you and just punching you.
1,000%.
Yeah, it's easy to do that, dude. It's easy to do that.
Yeah. But but it's like, kind of like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
God,
it's true.
You remember that fight, the first round?
Yeah.
It was like, you were there.
Yeah.
You were there when I had to get that leg lock to get out of there.
Yeah.
Bro. Talk about not knowing jiu-jitsu, or I just didn't have confidence in my jiu-jitsu, and out of nowhere I was using it really nice, and I was like, oh my God.
Dude, watching you hit that after we worked it a couple of weeks before, I was like, that was like another one of those moments where I was like, oh man, like this like gamification of stuff. That was like a big confidence booster, because I was like, oh, he didn't feel like he knew anything, but clearly he knew something.
Talk about a confidence booster, bro. I was, not doubting, but I wanted to know if it worked too.
Yeah.
Just as a student, I was like, maybe.
And it did.
And it does.
And you got back up with it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the point too. Is like, okay, I might not be able to. I might not sit here and want to commit to it as a finish, but to use it as a sweep so I can get back to where I want to be.
Yes.
That's what people don't realize a lot of times is it's the awareness and presence of and the intention. It's like, so you going for a leg lock gave you an opportunity to sweep somebody and to alter the position.
And to get up on a single.
Exactly. Yeah. And whereas most people might maybe overcommit to that leg lock if they're too specialized with jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And the next thing you know, they're getting pounded in the face with hammer fists or something. Versus using that opportunity to go ahead and change the setting of the fight.
Yeah.
So I think that's the beautiful part of martial arts is it's not, you can't, if you sit here and conceptualize it too systematically, then you're actually missing opportunities to change the variables at play, And
I mean, again, it's just real easy just to be in that position and go, I'm about to lose. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to lose. Here we go. Yeah. It's easy to have that one little seed of doubt, especially when you see like this, the boyfriend choke. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, here we go. Here we go. You know what I'm saying? Like you just invited your friends and family to come watch you get your face beat up.
Sure.
That's why I train so obsessively.
Well, think from a striking perspective, it's kind of like target practicing versus where I see guys, even good stand-up fighters that are more stand-up specialists, it's like once they land that big right hand, all of a sudden their jab disappears.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like, well, actually the reason you landed the right hand is because you were setting them up with that jab the whole first round. And then it's like all of a sudden now they stop throwing it and they're trying to land the right hand and then they can't. Yeah. And then next thing you know, the momentum changes somehow and now it's a different fight.
Right.
But I'm like, I think that's the point too, is like no matter what it is, stand up, ground game, whatever. And we talk about adaptability all the time. And I think now you say I guess we'll say key principles of this talk is that awareness, obviously, central pillar. And then adaptability being another huge deal.
Was Alan's retort to, I said that the other day, there's no such thing as a perfect technique. And Alan was like, I don't think so. But I think a good technique would be basically he said the ability to adapt within. You know what I'm saying? The muscle movements is not exactly a perfect technique, but a perfect technique is the ability to adapt while you're in them. Yeah. And flow through them, bro.
Right.
I think
and think about it, even with like ourselves and our thinking, like rumination is really the trap. So that means I'm stuck in a loop, and I'm ruminating on something, and I'm in a cycle or a loop that I'm not breaking out of, And then it's like, that's where the anxiety, depression, all the stuff starts to build and build and build. The skills that you learn is just to break a cycle of stuckness and to give yourself opportunity to jump into another pattern, whether it's thinking or whether it's physical, it's the same thing. So a lot of times if we're training in ways that are too compartmentalized, our body and brain don't even know that this is option just sitting here because it's too stuck in this refined loop. And so that's where part of the awareness, it all starts with just noticing and be like, oh, this is what's going on here. And then like now you have the opportunity to do something different, you know? And I think it's universal and I love the idea of like connecting the dots with all these things because it really is the human condition. It's the thing that we're dealing with. And that's why I'm in love with neuro everything, because I'm like, as you look at the mind, you look at the nervous system and you start to understand how it's organizing and operating and this and that, you kind of shows you that's the core pattern for all living things in nature and the world we're living in. And just like we're talking about the network of how when we serve others and we pour into other things, like we're pouring into the network versus the node in the network, right? And by doing so, we're really having a huge impact on the whole. But I think, and even as a whole person, that's how we operate at our best, is like when we're operating, or whether it's exercise, thinking, learning, whatever we're doing, it's like making moves that are really serving the whole system always serve the individual the most.
Truly giving back is
Oh yeah.
much makes you more happier too.
Oh, for sure. I learned that through coaching. Like again, like the night you and Aiden won, I was like, oh, like this feels really good watching you guys succeed.
Watching Gavin win is
Bro,
better than
Gavin
all of
win.
my wins combined. I was like, right there, dude. Being cage side for that too, with you and Gavin just like hitting the cage next to us, and we both just stand up and slap the table, bro. There's nothing better than that.
So wrap up key points for you.
Yeah, we gotta go, coach.
Man, what do you mean by key points? I'm sorry.
Well, I always try to give any guest, we always try to give them a moment just after we get done with everything, just like if there's just anything, key points or moments or things you want to touch on, or even messages or things you want to say that are just important for you. Because I look at this as like, to me, what I look at all this is in any media we're doing and stuff we're engaged in, because none of us are really we don't really care that much about followers and about attention and all that stuff. But I look at it as like a legacy, and it's a historical record, right? Yeah. And so like our kids, like this will be hopefully be something that far after you're gone will be something that people can see. So that's kind of the perspective. You know?
Man, keynotes. I think one, I would like to be remembered just as a martial artist, and that's just as someone who really cared about his craft and cared about the people around him and the people who came before me, but also the people who come after me and the people maybe who just even walk beside me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I really, really value the journey, and I strive every day to do the best I can in the people around me. And I think that's all I really cared to be remembered about.
Stud.
So,
God, I can kiss your face right now. You fucking stud.
Bilbo, any key take? Oh, God, y'all are so gay.
Jesus, dude, that was really good.
What the words or the kiss?
both.
That was incredible. That was incredible. Yeah, I remember you like that.
How about you, Bilbo? Anything you want to wrap up?
Considering I just got out of the Slugfest, I want to say just basically thank you to Neolife for sponsoring me and helping me out through this camp. Thanks to my coaches, definitely Savage Mountain as well, the Stone Mill, Floor and Done Right. Wow, right there. All the Binka Power Electric, man. Those guys are awesome. Thank you for helping me through camp. Batch, you're the shit.
Thank you guys for having me, by the way. I didn't say that.
That was fun.
Thank you.
And I'll give our credence to our sponsors as well. Neolife Physical Therapy. Obviously, that's the mothership that makes it all happen. Neofit Performance and Quan Mickle. He's our performance director.
Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
Mickle?
Dan Quan, Michael. I call him Mickle. I always mispronounce people's names, but I think Michael is what he prefers. Dan Quan Michael, his full proper name.
Really?
Yeah.
Savage
Yeah.
Mountain, baby.
So if you call him Dan Quan, that's kind of
You like it?
yeah, it's his birth certificate name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we have Neo Nutrition, my wife's business.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then we also have Neo Golf, which is our new indoor golf simulator. It's a awesome deal. It's an automated deal where you pay a monthly membership and you basically get full use of the TrackMan. You can bring guests for free, things like that.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, it's
Hey,
a
check
really,
that out.
really awesome deal. But anyway, we're so happy to have you here today, man. This was awesome conversation.
It was cool.
And
Thank
we
you,
will
boys.
see you on the next one.
Come on.
Cool.